All right, folks, today we're reacting to an interesting video from the I Got Game channel. Shout out to I Got Game. Let's check it out.
Colorism permeates South Asian culture. We love whiteness, and I mean, both in terms of the skin, but also in terms of our internalization of white supremacy and racism. We have internalized racism, and we have come to believe that whiteness is better than brownness. And it shows up in things like colorism, where we tell our children to not sit in the sun, to use skin bleaching cream products, and more. This is a manifestation of white supremacy. It's a manifestation of racism, and we have come to believe this. And I'm so done with the colorism in our community, in our culture. So after today, I would love for you to join me in calling out colorism. When you hear comments being made in our culture around how fair is beauty, I want you to call it out. And instead, what we really should be doing is cultivating self-love. We want to be in a place where we embrace how beautiful we are, the melanin in our skin, our brownness.
I think that's an interesting point. I certainly agree with her on a lot of those points. Being Nigerian, I could definitely tell you that we have an element of that. Even as we're black, we're African. Colorism exists in Africa. Bleaching creams, all of these elements exist in Africa. So this is not even just a case of course, as we see the title, Indian women leaving their racist culture behind to now be with black men. They're exploring what their melanin looks like.
Happy summer. I cannot believe that I still need to talk to some of y'all about this. Do not tell your brown children to stay out of the sun this summer. Do not offer skin lightening agents to counteract the effect of the sun on your brown children's skin. Do not slather your children in sunscreen with the intent of keeping them light, but rather with the intent of protecting them from skin cancer. Our skin is the imprint of our heritage, of our ancestors, and you will not be making children, literal children, think about how their skin is less desirable than white skin. Let your kids play in the goddamn sun this summer.
I'm sure that's one that we all heard within our communities. I mean, it's interesting. My mom is pretty light skinned, and I know. So in fact, I remember when she visits Texas, and she would be really really cautious about the sun. And it's nothing on her. It's just, I mean, she's light skinned. She wants to protect herself. She doesn't want her skin darker. In a lot of ways, I used to think about that when I was a kid. It was something that subconsciously I did. But as I got older, when I moved to parts of the States, when I moved to Florida, now I love being in the sun. Now I shoot, enjoy the sun. I enjoy glistening in the sun. I enjoy being dark and beautiful in the sun. And I think it's a superpower that we all have and we should take advantage of.
Bad. After looking at you as a fair woman, Beyonce would feel inferior. Just a friendly reminder, Beyonce's black. Y'all will continue to say colorism in India does not exist when Indian women can't even turn on the TV. Imagine being an Indian woman, turning on the TV, Beyonce, and then imagine going to the drugstore after and seeing Fair and Lovely bleaching products literally everywhere. Going to like an auntie and uncle's house and then the auntie's like, oh, you got so dark. There is no escaping colorism and the Eurocentrism that was implemented by colonizers. And the fact that this video can exist in 2020 and the production company actors didn't say anything about it is unbelievably problematic and embarrassing. Imagine having colorism in 2020. What the heck? Or what?
Tell me somebody's colorist without
Yeah.
saying they're colorist.
So when I was like 6 or 7, I was in first grade at the time. I was a part of like a Bollywood dance group, and I went over to one of the girls' houses because they were having practice there, and her whole family basically wouldn't acknowledge me, and they would only serve me food on a metal tray, and they wouldn't let their kids touch that metal tray. And it's all because of obviously the caste system, and I was much darker than their children. So then obviously when my white mom came to come get me, they were shook because they treated me so badly, and it went down. When I tell y'all, it went down. We never went back there again. No more dance group for me. Over. And as a 7-year-old, I didn't understand what was going on, but now as an adult, I do, and it's great.
Because
I think that's very, very interesting. The Indian caste system is one that's still prevalent today, actually. I think they're one of the few societies where their caste system or even their fully pronounced class system Exists. I would love to learn more in the comments. If you know more about the class system there or the caste system there, I'd love to learn more about it.
Because everyone watches Bollywood. Also, I specifically said South Asian, not South Indian. Bollywood so far has only been having actors that look white, which is very problematic because Bollywood is so popular. Not only do South Asians watch it, a lot of people from different countries watch Bollywood movies. And the representation in those movies is so problematic because there are people in my comment section who are foreigners, non South Asians, who tell me that they did not know that Indians like me existed, meaning Indians of my skin tone or darker than me existed. Only after we started putting ourselves on the internet did they think, oh wow, they're brown and dark skinned Indians, South Asians. Why is it not there in Bollywood movies? There is colorism everywhere. But the reason why I hold Bollywood to such a high standard and I talk about them and I attack them in my on my page is because how popular they are, how much power they hold, because people watch Bollywood movies and make their assumptions about us. By us, I mean the rest of South Asia, the rest of India, and they think that we look like those people, those actors, those white looking actors, and they think that that's what South Asians look like. Nope. South Asia is very, very diverse. India is very diverse, but we don't have any representation. In my own country, I don't have representation. And Hollywood is doing a much better job at that, which I think that's weird to me.
I can see how it'd be weird for a lady like that. You could imagine that for many people, especially the ones who grew up here, to them, America is the most extreme form of the dichotomy between the lighter skin and the darker skin. White and black here, but in a lot of places, it's really lighter skin versus darker skin. I mean, even if you go to places like Jamaica, a lot of that still exists. And there's a lot of stigma towards the darker skin. In America, I think you've seen in pop culture now, that started to shift a little bit more. The darker skin is celebrated a little bit more. But again, I think the key thing that we should be really saying here is it shouldn't be one or the other. It shouldn't be darker skin versus lighter skin. It really should be let's celebrate all the different shades that we come in because we do come in a lot of different shades. So I it's sad that she feels that way, but at the same time, it's the truth.
I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's been bothering me. Recently, I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and Instagram. South Asians asking the British Empire to return the Kohinoor diamond back to India after the Queen passed away. Sari blouses apparently not being a thing, and that they were introduced by the British Empire to cover a woman's modesty. We're pointing fingers at the British Empire for all these things, and yet they left 75 years ago, and we're still holding on to one of the biggest legacies they've left behind: fair skin privilege and colorism. I know that colorism did exist in South Asia before they arrived, but let's be very honest, their arrival exacerbated the problem, right? And we're still holding on to that. In fact, it's thriving. Colorism is thriving in India. We're holding on to that. We're holding on to internalized racism. I think it's high time we start looking within and fix those problems first.
So do my
I couldn't agree more. That's an interesting one. Again, something that harkens back to something that affected us in Africa in Nigeria from my heritage. The British influence in all of this. I think it has to be said. In a lot of for a lot of even the bleaching creams and all the things, it's British companies, Unilever and the rest of them. Um, it is interesting that she mentioned that it was there before the British came because that again speaks to this not being not just anyone's fault, but something that we've always had internally and that we have to work on as a community, as a people, as individuals in order to get past it. It's not just a matter of blaming one person or the other, but that this is something we need to work on our own.
my Indian parents finally accept my half black children? Get into it. So last I left off, I haven't spoken to my dad in over a decade. I think the last time I spoke to him was in 2013. I don't need him in my kids' lives. He disowned me a long time ago, or I felt he disowned me, even though I felt like he wanted to communicate with me, but he didn't want to own up to the fact that he has half black grandchildren.
So we see there with the final individual, the extent to which the families would go in order to not be associated with these things with us, you know. But it is by highlighting these atrocities, frankly speaking, it's by highlighting these issues within our communities all across the globe that we're going to be able to have the conversation to change it. So look to your neighbor, look to the person next to you, and ask them how confident they are in their shade. All right. And if they're not, encourage them. All right. Tell them how good they look. Tell them they're beautiful in that shade. And step by step, together, we'll make this home. Let's go.